Hi YouTube, it's Robin Casper, Austin's Auctionista here, and today we're going to be talking about how I got started in the auction business and how I became an auctioneer. So stick around! So how I became an auctioneer is not your typical auctioneer story. Your typical auctioneer story goes something like this. My father was an auctioneer, and my father's father was an auctioneer, and my father's father's father was an auctioneer. That is exactly what I thought your typical auctioneer story was. That's how I felt about auctioneering. I felt that it was something that you probably had to be born into. It wasn't something you could just go to school for. When I was growing up, I attended several auctions. I've been to a lot of auctions. As a kid, we used to go to livestock auctions all the time. We had horses. We lived in a small town, and that was just kind of what you did for fun. So I had attended several auctions, but I never really thought that I could be an auctioneer. And then several years ago, I kind of started contemplating, what would it really take for someone like me to become an auctioneer? Like, what do I have to do? Do I got to go work for an auction company? I had no idea. So I started looking into it, and every state is different. But here in Texas, you do have to attend auction school. You have to attend 100 hours of school, it's usually 10 days and 10 hours a day. And you have to take a state exam. And, you have to pass a background check and all that stuff, and then you get your auctioneer's license. Now, every state is different, so, I can't speak for anybody but Texas, because that's where I'm licensed. So I had looked into it, and I had found, some big auction schools. There's a big auction school in Dallas. It's called Texas Auctioneer Academy. I kind of looked into that and thought, wow, that's really neat. Now, at the time, I had no money, no time, and an infant daughter. So auction school was kind of something I just said, well, that's just not going to happen. My background is in business marketing, and I'm kind of a serial entrepreneur, so I've started a lot of businesses on my own. My goal is just not to have to work for somebody else. Always has been. So, I've started several businesses. I've helped to start several businesses. So, starting a new business or something like that was never anything that intimidated me in any way, shape, or form. But fast forward several years, and I had found myself in a position where I was I was actually selling things on eBay. I was selling all kinds of stuff on eBay for other people for commission. I was selling like antique fishing lures and classic car parts. I sold some pretty cool stuff. But I got really annoyed because I felt like eBay was just kind of nickeling and diming me to death. Like, they were just eating into my profits. I was like, I would make good money here, except for that eBay takes it. I had a lot of issues with eBay. I just wasn't happy with eBay. And I was thinking, how can I cut eBay out? How can I get rid of eBay? How can I do this and not have to pay all these stupid fees and have to wait forever to get the money? And there was just so many headaches with eBay. I hated it. And then as the wheels started turning, I was like, oh, let me go look into that auction stuff again. Let me go look into becoming an auctioneer again. And, because I was like, if I became an auctioneer, then I could run my own website, and I don't have to use eBay. I could just do it on my own, because here in Texas, you do have to be licensed if you're going to do that. So even if you're doing it on the internet. So I was like, okay, and I kind of looked into it, and it worked out. I wasn't able to go to the Texas Auction Academy. I ended up going to a different auction school. I ended up going to the auction school here in Waco that's taught at the community college. And I was kind of bummed about it at first. I was like, well, I'm going to go to this, little bitty auction school. I'm not going to the big dog school, And I thought, oh, I'm not going to learn as much, or it's not going to be as good of a school. Boy, was I ever wrong. And I'm not going to really get into auction schools or my opinions of auction schools right here on this particular video. That's definitely something that I'll talk about later. But I ended up going to MCC in Waco and taking the auction school courses there. And I saved money, first of all, and second of all, the scheduling didn't work out with Texas Auction Academy for me, and it just kind of worked out where I ended up going to this smaller school. The scheduling was just better. And My instructor there was a man named Will Moon. He's probably a very well-known auctioneer, here in Texas. He's, a huge personality. He's just kind of I don't know, he's an interesting guy. but he was my instructor, and, I was in a very small class, so there was lots of like kind of one-on-one attention, and I really felt like we got a lot of bang for our buck at that school. And so I went to auction school not knowing what I was getting into, and it turned out that I loved it. I graduated top of my class. I loved every minute of auction school. I learned so much, and there's so much more to being an auctioneer than just bid calling. Bid calling is a very small part of it, and I will do a video later on auction chants and bid calling and all that stuff, but for now I just kind of want to focus on how I got into this industry. So I went there, did that, came back, and had to you have to register with the state. They have to do like a background check, and then about a month later they told me I could go take my test, and I went and took my test. I made a 96 on it, so I aced the test. Like I said, it's a whole lot more than bid calling. There's a lot of laws and regulations and codes and things like that you need to know, so you really got to study for this test. And then I started Casper Auction Co. And pretty much started doing exactly what I was doing on eBay, except for myself. I pulled in a lot of new clients, and now I do not only just online auctions, I do live auctions, I do estate auctions. I've got a big benefit auction coming up here in January that I'm really excited about. I'm sure I'll post some video of that whenever it comes around. Had I been doing this whenever I just recently did this estate auction, I would have, made some video there, but I wasn't thinking about it. So, I do estate auctions, I do benefit auctions, I do intellectual property auctions. I've done several of those. I do a lot of work with insurance companies on salvage items and helping them recover funds for items that they've replaced for people. And these are all things that I will talk about on this channel at some point and, do videos on. But for the most part, that's it. That's how I got started in the auction business. It was quick and sweet, and it was the best thing that I ever did. I'm very passionate about it. I'm very passionate about being an auctioneer. I've had a lot of jobs and done a lot of things in my life, and this is by far the thing that I am most passionate about, other than being a mom. Of course I love being a mom, but as far as career-wise, this is my passion. I love being an auctioneer. I love people. I love talking to people and meeting new people. I'm kind of a big personality, and I think it kind of takes that in the auctioneering world. You kind of got to be a big personality. My instructor Will Moon would say, well, if you don't have the personality of a turnip, you'll be all right. And that's probably true, but I would go a step further and say you kind of need to be really outgoing, and you need to have kind of a big personality to really, to draw people's attention. I mean, that's kind of what, part of being an auctioneer is keeping people's attention. I can tell you that much. Anyways, so that's kind of it. That's how I got started in the auction business. If you have any questions or comments, I would love to hear them. Put them down below. Please subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching my video. There's going to be a lot more to come. I'm going to tell you about a lot more things involved in the auction industry. Like I said, I'll do a video on bid calling. I'll do a video on bid calling and auction chanting. I'll do videos on how to be a how to be a better bidder. All right, how to be a better bidder at the auction, how to get more bang for your buck out of your bid, I guess. How not to overpay for things, how not to get carried away. So I'm going to look at it from both sides. We'll post some cool auction videos here. We'll talk about some of the cool items I've got coming up for auction. You definitely subscribe. Give me a thumbs up. I really need it. This is the first time I've ever really tried to do YouTube. I've probably made this video 15 bajillion times already, and it's just been a nightmare, and hopefully this is the one because it's not been easy. I've had to start over several times. Anyways, there's lots more to come. Check out my website. It's CasperAuctionCo.com. That's Kasper AuctionCo.com. I'll put a link somewhere down here. And like I said, don't forget, subscribe. Ask me questions in the comments. Post stuff down there. Just do whatever down there. I don't care. Just make it crazy. All right? Have fun. And I will see you next time. Bye, YouTube.